The Brown County judge overseeing a murder and dismemberment case will remain on the bench. 25-year-old Taylor Schabusiness is charged with the death of Shad Therian last year. Schabusiness's newly appointed public defender, Chris Freilich, filed a motion this week saying he is concerned Judge Thomas Walsh is no longer impartial because he saw Schabusiness attack her former attorney in court last month. Brown County District Attorney David Lassay says the court acted appropriately in subduing Schabusiness after the attack, and he does not see a need for Judge Walsh to recuse himself. The judge says with his many years on the bench, and he can continue to oversee the case fairly.
I'm satisfied that I'm still able to give Ms. Schabusiness a fair hearing on all the issues in front of her, a fair hearing on the issue of competence, fair hearing if this case goes to a jury, a fair hearing on that.
The judge is going to give Schabusiness's new attorney time to review the case and previous competency reports. She's back in court on March 20th.